The massive bronze dragon landed on the medical station's platform with a heavy thud that shook the entire building. Commander Zethkalar folded his enormous wings against his body and let out a long, annoyed sigh that sent steam curling from his nostrils. He had put off this visit for months, but the Coalition's medical regulations were clear. All active military personnel needed regular health checks, even dragons who had been fighting wars for 300 years. Katie Morrison watched from the observation window as the dragon settled himself on the reinforced landing pad. She had been working at the Galactic Coalition's medical facility for 5 years now, but she still felt a thrill whenever she saw one of the great dragons up close. This one was particularly impressive. His bronze scales caught the station's artificial sunlight like polished metal, though Katie noticed they seemed duller than they should be. Scars from countless battles marked his hide, telling stories of fights across a dozen star systems. She grabbed her medical kit and headed down to the examination bay. The facility had been specially built to handle patients of all sizes, from tiny Zephyrian butterflies to massive space whales. The Dragon Bay was the largest, with reinforced walls and equipment designed to scan through thick scales and dense muscle. When Katie entered the bay, Zethkalar was already looking around with obvious displeasure. His golden eyes, each larger than Katie's head, fixed on her as she approached. "So you're the human they've assigned to poke and prod me," he rumbled. His voice was so deep that Katie felt it vibrating in her chest. "Let's get this over with quickly. I have important matters to attend to." Katie had dealt with reluctant patients before, though none quite this large. She kept her voice calm and professional. "Good morning, Commander. I'm Nurse Katie Morrison. I'll be conducting your examination today. I know you probably don't want to be here, but I'll try to make this as quick and painless as possible." The dragon snorted, sending a small puff of flame into the air. "Painless? Human, I've been shot by plasma cannons and bitten by void sharks. I think I can handle whatever tiny instruments you plan to use." Despite his gruff attitude, Katie noticed something interesting. The dragon was favoring his left side slightly, and his breathing seemed more labored than it should be for someone just sitting still. She made mental notes as she began setting up her equipment. "The forms say you're here for a routine check, but is there anything specific that's been bothering you?" Katie asked, powering up her scanner. Zethkalar hesitated for a moment. "There's one small thing. Probably nothing worth mentioning to someone of your limited experience with dragon physiology." Katie bit back her first response. She had studied xenobiology for 8 years and had treated dozens of different alien species, but she knew that challenging the dragon's pride wouldn't help anyone. "I'd like to hear about it anyway," she said simply. "Sometimes the small things can tell us a lot." The dragon shifted uncomfortably. "A few months ago I noticed a small dark spot on my left flank. It's probably just an age mark. Dragons of my years develop such blemishes. Nothing that would concern a human." Katie heard the dismissive tone, but she also caught something else. There was worry in his voice, carefully hidden but definitely there. In her experience, when patients downplayed symptoms, it usually meant they were more concerned than they wanted to admit. "Could you show me where this spot is?" she asked. With obvious reluctance, Zethkalar shifted his position and lifted his left wing slightly. Katie moved closer, her scanner in hand. What she saw made her stop in her tracks. The spot was about the size of her palm, darker than the surrounding bronze scales. But it wasn't like any age mark she had ever seen. It had an odd crystalline quality to it, and if she looked closely, it seemed to have tiny geometric patterns beneath the surface. Most strange of all, it appeared to be very faintly glowing with its own light. "How long did you say you've had this?" Katie asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. "A few months, maybe 4 or 5. It started small and has grown slightly, but that's normal for age spots." Katie ran her scanner over the area. The readings made her frown. The device was detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist in biological tissue. There were also trace elements that she didn't recognize from any of her xenobiology studies. "Commander, I'm going to need to run some additional tests," she said carefully. "This doesn't look like any age mark I've seen before." Zethkalar's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Are you questioning my knowledge of my own species? Dragons have been developing these marks for millennia, long before humans even left their little planet. Your medicine, advanced as it may be for your kind, doesn't account for every aspect of dragon biology." Katie could feel the dragon's growing irritation, but she had learned to trust her instincts. Something about this spot was very wrong, and she wasn't going to ignore it just to avoid hurting the dragon's pride. I understand that dragons have medical conditions that humans don't fully understand, she said diplomatically. But as your medical officer, I have a duty to investigate anything unusual. These scanner readings are unlike anything in our database. The dragon was quiet for a long moment, studying Katie with those ancient golden eyes. She could almost see him weighing his options. Finally, he let out another long sigh. Very well, run your tests. But I want it on record that I consider this a waste of time. I have battles to fight and worlds to protect. I don't have time for human overcautiousness about a simple blemish. As Katie began preparing her equipment for more detailed scans, she noticed other things about the dragon that worried her. His bio readings showed stress levels that were higher than they should be for someone at rest. His neural activity pattern suggested he was in more discomfort than he was admitting. Most telling of all, she caught him unconsciously rubbing the area around the spot when he thought she wasn't looking. Whatever this spot was, it was bothering Commander Zethkalar far more than he wanted to admit. And Katie was becoming increasingly certain that it was something far more serious than a simple age mark. She had no idea that her refusal to accept the dragon's dismissive explanation would lead to the most important medical discovery in galactic history. All she knew was that a patient was in potential danger, and she was going to find out why. Katie spent the next 3 hours running every test she could think of on the strange spot. Each scan revealed something more puzzling than the last. The dark mark wasn't just sitting on the surface of Zethkalar's scales. It went deep into his tissue, creating patterns that looked almost like circuits or wiring diagrams. The dragon had grown increasingly restless as the examination continued. He shifted his massive weight from side to side and occasionally let out small puffs of irritated flame. But Katie noticed he was being careful not to move too much when she was scanning the affected area. Despite his complaints, he seemed genuinely curious about what she might find. "The readings are very strange, Commander," Katie said, studying her scanner display. "This isn't behaving like any biological tissue I've ever seen. It's generating its own energy signature, and the molecular structure is unlike anything in our medical databases." Zethkalar craned his enormous neck to look at the scanner screen, though Katie doubted he could make sense of the human medical readouts. Energy signature? What kind of energy? That's what's so odd. It's not heat or electrical activity like we'd expect from living tissue. It's something else entirely. And look at these trace elements. Katie pointed to a section of her display. These don't match any known substances in the galactic periodic table. The dragon was quiet for a moment, and Katie saw something she hadn't expected in his golden eyes. Fear. Not the kind of fear that came from facing an enemy in battle, but the deeper worry of not understanding what was happening to his own body. Could it be some kind of infection? He asked, his voice losing some of its earlier bravado. Something I picked up during the Outer Rim campaigns, perhaps? Katie shook her head. Infections don't create geometric patterns or generate unknown energy signatures. This looks more like... She paused, not sure how to explain what she was seeing. It looks almost artificial. Like technology. Technology? Zethkalar's voice rose to a roar that echoed through the examination bay. Are you suggesting someone has implanted some kind of device in me? That's impossible. Dragons would sense such violations immediately. But even as he protested, Katie could see doubt creeping into his expression. She pulled up the deep tissue scans on the main display screen, enlarging them so the dragon could see clearly. Look at these patterns, she said, pointing to the intricate geometric designs revealed by the scanner. They're too regular, too organized to be natural. And see how they connect to your nervous system? Whatever this is, it's interfaced directly with your neural pathways. The dragon stared at the images in stunned silence. The patterns were indeed artificial looking, like circuit boards or computer chips grown into living tissue. Thin lines of the strange crystalline material branched out from the main spot, following his nerve pathways deeper into his body. How long have you really had this? Katie asked gently. I know you said a few months, but these neural connections look like they've been developing for much longer. Zethkalar closed his eyes, and Katie could see him thinking back through his long life. Now that I consider it more carefully, I remember noticing something different about that area when I was much younger. Perhaps a century ago, but it was so faint I assumed it was just a natural marking. A century, Katie repeated, making notes. So this has been growing slowly inside you for decades, maybe longer. That would explain why it's so thoroughly integrated with your biology. She ran another scan, this time focusing on the neural connections. What she saw made her gasp. The artificial material wasn't just connected to Zeth Kellar's nervous system. It was actively communicating with his brain, sending and receiving signals in patterns too complex for her equipment to fully decode. Commander, I need to contact Dr. Alex Turner, our chief xenobiologist. This is beyond my expertise. Absolutely not, Zeth Kellar snapped, his pride reasserting itself. I will not have this embarrassing condition broadcast to the entire medical staff. You will find a solution yourself, or I will leave and seek treatment elsewhere. Katie understood his concern, but she also knew this was too important to handle alone. What if I promise to keep the details confidential? Dr. Turner is completely trustworthy, and he has access to research databases that I don't. He might be able to identify what this technology is and where it came from. The dragon considered this for a long moment. Finally, he nodded reluctantly. Very well, but I want to be present for any discussions, and if word of this spreads beyond the three of us, I will hold you personally responsible. Katie contacted Dr. Turner through the secure medical channel. Within minutes, the elderly human scientist arrived in the examination bay, his eyes wide with curiosity as he took in the massive dragon patient. Dr. Turner, I need you to look at these scans, Katie said without preamble. But first, I need your word that this information stays completely confidential. After Alex gave his promise, Katie showed him the scanner results. His reaction was immediate and dramatic. The color drained from his face and he nearly dropped his tablet. This can't be right, he whispered. Katie, run the scan again. Check your calibration. I've run it 6 times with 3 different scanners. The results are consistent. Alex moved closer to the display, studying the images intently. Zeth Kellar, with your permission, I'd like to take some additional readings. I need to confirm something, but if I'm right, this is the most important discovery in galactic history. The dragon looked between Katie and Alex, seeing the excitement and worry in both their faces. What exactly do you think this is? Alex hesitated before answering. I think it's precursor technology. The artificial patterns match theoretical models we've developed based on archaeological finds, but we've never seen it integrated with living tissue before. If this is real, it means the precursors found a way to embed their technology directly into biological organisms. The precursors vanished millions of years ago, Zeth Kellar protested. Long before dragons achieved spaceflight. That's what makes this so remarkable, Alex said, his voice filled with awe. This suggests that precursor technology has been present in the galaxy far longer than we realized. And if it's in you, Commander, it might be in other dragons as well. Katie felt a chill run down her spine as the implications hit her. If dragons had been carrying dormant precursor technology for generations, it could explain so much about their species' remarkable abilities and rapid advancement. But it also raised terrifying questions about what this technology was designed to do and why it was activating now. Dr. Alex Turner worked through the night, running every advanced scan the medical station possessed. Katie stayed with him, fascinated despite her exhaustion. Zeth Kellar had reluctantly agreed to remain in the medical bay, though he spent most of his time pacing restlessly around the large examination room. By morning, they had assembled a picture that defied everything they thought they knew about galactic history and dragon biology. The crystalline formation embedded in Zeth Kellar's body was indeed precursor technology, but it was far more sophisticated than anything they had found in ancient ruins. It's a biological computer, Alex explained, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. But calling it a computer doesn't really do it justice. It's more like a living data storage and transmission device that's been perfectly integrated with dragon physiology. Katie studied the detailed scans spread across multiple screens. How is that possible? The precursors disappeared millions of years ago, long before dragons evolved. That's what we always assumed, Alex said. But these readings suggest something different. This technology shows signs of being installed at the genetic level. It's been passed down through dragon bloodlines for generations, possibly thousands of years. Zeth Kellar stopped his pacing and moved closer to the humans. Are you saying my ancestors were experimented on by these precursors? Alex shook his head. I don't think it was an experiment. The integration is too perfect, too beneficial to dragon biology. It's more like the precursors designed dragons to carry their technology. Or maybe they designed the technology to work specifically with dragons. Katie pulled up a comparison chart showing normal dragon neural pathways next to Zeth Kalar's scans. Look at this. The precursor technology isn't just sitting in his body like a foreign object. It's enhancing his natural abilities. His reaction times are faster than they should be. His spatial awareness is incredibly advanced, and his brain is processing information in ways that shouldn't be possible. This explains so much about dragon capabilities, Alex said excitedly. Their natural ability to navigate hyperspace without instruments, their incredible tactical awareness in battle, their instinctive understanding of advanced physics concepts. We always attributed it to dragon intelligence and mysticism. Zeth Kalar was listening intently, his golden eyes moving between the two humans. The dreams, he said suddenly. Dragons often speak of strange dreams that feel more real than memories. Visions of places we've never been, knowledge of things we've never learned. That could be the technology activating, Katie said, downloading information or memories stored in the precursor database. Alex was already pulling up files on his tablet. I need to contact other medical facilities immediately. If this technology exists in you, Commander, it probably exists in other dragons as well. We need to start scanning the entire dragon population. But before he could send his first message, alarms began blaring throughout the medical station. Katie's communication device crackled to life with urgent reports from coalition facilities across the galaxy. Medical emergency on Centauri Station. Multiple dragon patients experiencing severe neural episodes. Priority alert from the Vega system. Dragon flight crews reporting sudden onset of sensory overload and memory disruption. Emergency medical request from the Titan mining colony. Dragon workers suffering from what appears to be massive headaches and temporary paralysis. Katie felt her blood run cold. It's happening everywhere at once. Alex was frantically checking his instruments. The energy signature from Zeth Kalar's implant has increased by 30% in the last hour. Whatever triggered the activation in him is happening to dragons across the galaxy simultaneously. Zeth Kalar suddenly doubled over, a deep groan of pain echoing from his massive form. The crystalline spot on his flank was now glowing brightly enough to be seen even under the medical bay's harsh lights. "Commander!" Katie rushed to his side, scanner in hand. The readings were chaotic. Neural activity was spiking beyond safe levels, and the precursor technology was drawing massive amounts of energy from his body. "Something's wrong," Zeth Kalar gasped. "I can feel voices in my head, memories that aren't mine, images of star systems I've never visited." His voice was strained with pain and confusion. Alex was monitoring the scanner readings with growing alarm. The device is trying to download enormous amounts of data directly into his brain. At this rate, it could cause permanent neural damage or even death. Katie made a split-second decision. She grabbed an emergency neural stabilizer from the medical kit and injected it directly into the area around the crystalline formation. It was a desperate move, and she had no idea if human medications would even work on precursor technology. The effect was immediate. Zeth Kalar's readings stabilized slightly, and the painful glow from the implant dimmed to a more manageable level. "That helped," the dragon said, his voice still weak but more controlled. "The voices are quieter now. But they're still there. I can hear instructions, coordinates, technical specifications for technologies that shouldn't exist." Alex was staring at Katie in amazement. "How did you know to try that?" "I didn't," Katie admitted. "But the neural stabilizer is designed to prevent information overload in patients with traumatic brain injuries. I thought maybe it would slow down whatever the device was trying to do." She turned back to Zeth Kalar. "What kind of information are you receiving?" The dragon closed his eyes, concentrating. "Star maps. Incredibly detailed maps showing regions of space that haven't been explored yet. Technical blueprints for ships and weapons far beyond current coalition technology. And something else. Something about other races, species I don't recognize." "The precursors left a message," Alex breathed. "They embedded it in dragon DNA, waiting for the right time to activate." Katie was already formulating a plan. "If dragons across the galaxy are experiencing this activation simultaneously, we need to develop a treatment protocol fast. The neural stabilizer bought us time, but it's not a permanent solution. More reports were coming in over the communication system. Dragons everywhere were suffering from the same symptoms that Zethkalar had experienced. Some were handling it better than others, but many were in serious medical distress. "We need to study the activation patterns," Katie said. "Figure out why some dragons are adapting better than others. There has to be a way to help them integrate with the technology safely, instead of fighting it." Zethkalar looked at the two humans who had discovered the truth about his condition. "You realize what this means, don't you? If the precursor's embedded this technology in dragons intentionally, they had a reason. This message, this download of information, it's meant for something specific." Alex nodded grimly. "The question is whether we can figure out what that purpose is before the activation process kills every dragon in the galaxy." Katie was all ready, pulling up the latest medical reports, her mind racing with possibilities. Somewhere in the chaos of symptoms and scanner readings, there had to be a pattern, a way to help dragons safely unlock whatever gift the precursors had left for them. But time was running out, and the fate of an entire species might depend on finding the right answer. The medical station had become the center of a galactic crisis. Reports flooded in from across Coalition space as dragons everywhere struggled with the simultaneous activation of their dormant precursor technology. Some were managing better than others, but too many were experiencing dangerous neural overload. Katie had barely slept in 3 days. She moved between communication stations, medical displays, and treatment rooms where other dragons had been brought for emergency care. Dr. Alex Turner was coordinating with xenobiologists across the galaxy, trying to understand the activation patterns, while Katie focused on finding practical solutions. "The big question is why some dragons are handling this better than others," Katie said, reviewing the latest batch of medical reports. She had data from 47 dragons now, ranging from complete neural shutdown to relatively smooth integration with their precursor technology. Zethkalar had become her primary test subject, though he insisted on being called a research partner. His condition had stabilized after the initial crisis, and he was now helping Katie analyze the experiences of other affected dragons. "I've been thinking about that," Zethkalar said. His voice had changed over the past few days. There were new harmonics in it, as if multiple voices were speaking at once. "The dragons who are struggling most are the ones who are fighting the process. They're trying to resist the new information, to push back against the technology." Katie looked up from her datapad. That makes sense. When humans experience traumatic brain injuries, patients who panic and fight against rehabilitation usually have worse outcomes than those who stay calm and work with their medical team. Exactly. But how do we teach dragons to accept something that feels like an invasion of their minds? Alex joined their conversation, looking exhausted but excited. "I think Katie's human medical training might be the key. We've been approaching this like a technological problem, trying to understand the precursor devices, but maybe we should be treating it like a psychological and physical integration challenge." Katie was already thinking through the possibilities. In human medicine, we use meditation techniques and biofeedback training to help patients manage chronic pain and neurological conditions. Maybe we could adapt those methods for dragons. Meditation? Zethkalar's tone was skeptical. "Dragons don't meditate. We act, we fight. We conquer challenges through strength and will. And that's exactly why so many dragons are having problems," Katie pointed out. "You can't fight this technology. It's part of you now. You have to learn to work with it." Over the next day, Katie developed a treatment protocol that seemed impossible to the other medical staff. She combined human relaxation techniques with carefully calculated doses of neural stabilizers and biofeedback monitoring. The idea was to help dragons calm their minds enough to safely process the flood of precursor information. Her first real test case was a female dragon named Commander Vera Stormwing, who had been brought to the station in critical condition. The dragon was thrashing in her restraints, roaring about voices in her head and foreign memories overwhelming her thoughts. "Commander Stormwing," Katie said, approaching the dragon's bed calmly. "I know this is terrifying, but I need you to listen to my voice. Can you do that?" The dragon's golden eyes focused on Katie with obvious effort. "Make it stop," she pleaded. "There are too many voices. Too much information." Katie activated the biofeedback monitor and adjusted the neural stabilizer dosage. "I'm going to help you slow down your thoughts. Instead of fighting the voices, I want you to try something different. Breathe with me. Deep, slow breaths. Dragons don't need breathing exercises, Vera protested weakly. Right now you're not just a dragon, Katie said gently. You're a dragon with precursor technology trying to integrate with your mind. We need to help both parts of you work together. She guided Vera through a modified meditation technique, using the biofeedback monitor to show the dragon how her brain activity changed as she relaxed. Slowly, the chaotic neural patterns began to stabilize. The voices are getting clearer, Vera said with surprise. Instead of screaming, they're talking, showing me things. What kind of things? Star charts, technical specifications, and something else. In Vera's eyes widened. Coordinates to systems beyond the galactic rim. Places no one has ever explored. Katie checked the monitors. All of Vera's readings were moving into safe ranges. The integration process was working. Word of Katie's success spread quickly through the medical community. Soon, human medical teams were being dispatched to dragon colonies across the galaxy, all trained in Katie's integration protocol. But the real breakthrough came when Katie realized that the process worked both ways. Dragons who successfully integrated with their precursor technology could help other dragons through the process more effectively than humans alone. It's like they're networked, Katie explained to the assembled coalition leadership via holographic conference. Once a dragon successfully integrates, they can communicate with other dragons on levels we can't even detect. They're sharing experiences and helping each other adapt. Admiral Chen, the coalition's military commander, leaned forward in his chair. What exactly are these dragons gaining from this integration? Zethkalar, who had been quietly observing the meeting, stepped forward. Enhanced cognitive abilities, access to vast databases of technical knowledge, and most importantly, navigation data for regions of space that haven't been mapped yet. The precursors left us a roadmap, Alex added, not just for exploring new regions of the galaxy, but for technologies and scientific advances that could benefit all coalition species. Katie pulled up her latest medical reports. Dragons who complete the integration successfully show increased problem-solving abilities, enhanced spatial awareness, and what appears to be limited telepathic communication with other integrated dragons, but they retain their personalities and free will completely. And the dragons who don't integrate successfully? The Admiral asked. That's why human medical teams are so important, Katie said. Dragons alone can't guide each other through the initial integration process. It requires the kind of adaptive, creative thinking that humans excel at. We've become essential partners in helping dragons unlock this gift. Admiral Chen studied the data for a long moment. So what you're telling me is that humans have become uniquely qualified to help dragons evolve to the next level of their species development. Not just qualified, Zethkalar interjected, his voice carrying new harmonic frequencies that seemed to resonate directly in the listeners' minds. Essential. The precursors may have embedded this technology in dragons, but they designed the integration process to require cooperation between species. We need human creativity and adaptability to safely unlock our full potential. Katie smiled, thinking about how far they had come from a simple medical examination of what everyone assumed was just an age spot. It's partnership. Dragons provide the biological framework and ancient wisdom. Humans provide the medical knowledge and innovative thinking needed to make it work safely. The transformation was already beginning. Across the galaxy, human dragon medical teams were helping thousands of dragons safely integrate with their precursor technology. Each successful integration added to the growing network of enhanced dragons who could help others through the process. But Katie knew this was just the beginning. The real adventure would start when the integrated dragons began using their new abilities to explore the uncharted regions of space that the precursors had mapped out for them. 6 months after Katie Morrison had first examined what seemed like a simple age spot, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The human-dragon integration protocols had become the foundation of a new era in galactic civilization. Katie stood in the command center of the newly established Integration Research Station, watching as the latest batch of dragons completed their successful transformations. Commander Zethkalar approached her, his movements now carrying a fluid grace that spoke of his enhanced neural processing abilities. The latest reports from the outer colonies, he said, offering Katie a data tablet. His voice had evolved over the months, carrying harmonic frequencies that could convey emotional context directly to human listeners. 97% success rate for dragons undergoing integration with human medical support. Katie reviewed the statistics with satisfaction. They had come so far from those terrifying first days when dragons across the galaxy had been suffering from neural overload. Now the integration process was smooth and predictable, thanks to the protocols she had developed. "What about the exploration missions?" Katie asked. Zethkalar's golden eyes brightened with excitement. "Beyond our wildest expectations. The precursor navigation data has led us to 17 new star systems, 3 of which contain habitable worlds. But that's not the most remarkable discovery." He activated a holographic display that showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Bright lines connected various star systems in patterns that looked almost like a vast communications network. "The integrated dragons have discovered that we're not alone in this gift," Zethkalar continued. "The precursors embedded similar technology in other species throughout the galaxy. We've made contact with the Ethereal Collective, a group of energy beings who underwent their integration process thousands of years ago." Katie stared at the display in amazement. "Other species have this technology too?" "Many species. Each was given technology suited to their biology and capabilities. Dragons received navigation and tactical systems because of our natural abilities as explorers and warriors. The Ethereals received quantum manipulation technology. The Crystal Singers from the Andromeda border received temporal perception enhancers." Dr. Alex Turner joined their conversation, carrying his own collection of research data. "It's even more remarkable than that, Katie. The precursors didn't just scatter random technology throughout the galaxy. They created a deliberate system. Each species was given tools that would eventually lead them to cooperate with others. A galaxy-wide integration project," Katie said, understanding dawning in her voice. "The precursors designed it so that species would need to work together to unlock the full potential of their gifts." Zethkalar nodded. "Exactly. Dragons provide exploration and tactical capabilities. Humans provide medical knowledge and adaptive problem-solving. The Ethereals contribute energy manipulation. The Crystal Singers offer temporal coordination. Together, we're capable of achievements that no single species could manage alone." Alex activated another section of the holographic display. "And this is just the beginning. The precursor databases suggest that there are dozens more species with dormant technology, waiting for the right triggers to activate their own integration processes." Katie thought about the implications. "So the discovery we made here with Zethkalar's integration, it's going to spread throughout the galaxy as more species activate their technology." "Already happening," Zethkalar confirmed. "The crystalline hive mind from Sector 7 activated their systems last week. They're showing remarkable advances in collective computation abilities, and there are reports of unusual developments among the void swimmers near the galactic core." A communication alert chimed through the research station. Katie accepted the incoming message and a holographic figure appeared in front of them. It was Admiral Chen, but he looked different than he had 6 months ago. His eyes held a depth and awareness that suggested he might have undergone his own form of integration. "Katie, Zethkalar, Alex," the Admiral began, his voice carrying new authority. "I have remarkable news. The Coalition Council has voted unanimously to establish the Galactic Integration Initiative. We're creating a permanent alliance between all species that possess precursor technology." "What does that mean practically?" Katie asked. "It means human medical teams will be working with Dragon tactical units, ethereal energy specialists, and Crystal Singer temporal coordinators on joint missions throughout the galaxy. We're not just exploring new star systems anymore. We're preparing for something much larger." Zethkalar stepped forward. "Admiral, the integrated dragons have been receiving increasingly complex data packets from the precursor network. We believe the technology is preparing us for something specific, a final phase of the integration project." The Admiral nodded grimly. "Our analysts have reached the same conclusion. The precursors didn't just leave us tools for exploration and cooperation. They left us preparation for a challenge that none of our species could face alone." Katie felt a chill of excitement mixed with apprehension. "What kind of challenge?" "We're still deciphering the data, but it appears to involve contact with entities from beyond our galaxy. The precursors may have been preparing us to join a larger galactic community that spans multiple galaxies." Alex leaned forward eagerly. "Intergalactic contact? That would explain why the integration process is so focused on cooperation between species. We are being prepared to represent our entire galaxy in some kind of broader alliance." Zethkalar's expression grew thoughtful. The recent data downloads include star charts that extend far beyond the galactic rim. And there are communication protocols for technologies that don't match anything in our galaxy. Katie looked around at her colleagues, human and dragon alike, working together in ways that would have been impossible just months ago. So we went from treating what looked like a simple medical condition to preparing for intergalactic diplomacy. That's the remarkable thing about discovery, Alex said with a smile. You never know where asking the right questions will lead you. The Admiral's hologram flickered as he prepared to end the communication. Katie, I want you to know that the Coalition Council has voted to name you Director of Interspecies Medical Integration. Your protocols have become the foundation for everything we're building. After the Admiral's image faded, Katie stood quietly for a moment, thinking about the journey from that first examination of Commander Zethkalar to this moment of galactic transformation. Do you ever think about how different things would be if you had just accepted my explanation about the age spot? Zethkalar asked as if reading her thoughts. Katie smiled. That's not how humans work. When something doesn't make sense, we keep asking questions until we find the real answer. Sometimes that curiosity gets us into trouble, but sometimes it leads to discoveries that change everything. And sometimes, Zethkalar added, his voice carrying warm harmonics of gratitude, it leads to partnerships that unlock the greatest adventure in galactic history. Outside the research station's viewports, ships from dozens of different species were arriving daily, their crews eager to begin their own integration processes. The galaxy was transforming rapidly, species learning to work together in ways that had been impossible before the precursor technology activated. Katie Morrison, the human nurse who had refused to accept that a dark spot was nothing, had become the catalyst for the greatest advancement in galactic civilization. Her simple insistence on proper medical care had unlocked secrets that would guide the galaxy into its next evolutionary phase. The spot that Commander Zethkalar had dismissed as a minor blemish had indeed been the beginning of everything, and as Katie watched the integrated dragons and humans working together to prepare for whatever challenges awaited them among the stars, she knew that the greatest discoveries were still ahead of them.